Next person up will be Pruitt Small. Pruitt is the incident commander for the incident management team that's here helping to assist with the fire. Pruitt.
I'm going to turn this around so I can kind of talk to the map a little bit. The other warning is I have a kind of a high-grade laser pointer, so if you see something green flash by, color your eyes. Okay, so my name is Pruitt Small. I'm the Deputy Incident Commander of one of the two Type 1 teams in the southwest area, which is Arizona and New Mexico. Our primary job is to respond to the most complex wildland fires in this area and across the nation. There's 16 Type 1 teams around the United States, and here in the southwest area we have 2 of them. And I happen to have the honor of being a Deputy Incident Commander on Tony Shaka's team. Our team brings in 56 people when we come to an incident, and then generally we manage anywhere from 800 to 2,000 people managing wildland fires. So that's kind of the realm that we work in. Tuesday evening I got a call from Tony Shaka, our incident commander, and said, hey, we're going to go over and take over the slide fire over in Sedona Wednesday night. But why don't we try to get there as early as we can so that we can work with the locals and help them through the day, and then we'll take that fire over at 2000 on Wednesday night. So that's kind of how we got the call to come over here. And the request came from both the Coconino National Forest and the Arizona State Forestry. So you have U.S. Forest Service lands, private lands, and state lands, and the state forestry represent the private lands along with Sedona Fire. So that's kind of who we're working for when we came out this way. So you guys should be proud of the organizations in your area. They recognize real quick, hey, we have a significant fire. Let's move it from the initial attack 911 phase. Let's carry it for a day, and then let's hand it off to the bigger system that is used to dealing with these kind of fires. So you guys had some really great response from your local agencies. And just to kind of show you kind of how the teams work, last year John Russell from Yavapai County and our team was basically a year ago chasing fire over Granite Mountain in Prescott. So we kind of do a lot of this, but the canyon that you have here has some real complexities, so I think it was a good call for your folks to call a Type 1 team. So with that said, let me talk about currently the fire is about 8,000 acres. 5% contained. Every day we'll get a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, so we'll ask your patience with that because it's a long-term process. If somebody was looking for us to turn the smoke off tomorrow, I'll be real blunt, that's not going to happen, okay? So we're going to probably be here about a week, maybe 8 or 9 days, and every day the smoke, we would hope after a couple more days will start to diminish, but there's going to be smoke in the air for quite some time. And I would tell you this, you want smoke in the air versus water gushing down the canyons. And the slower we can go at this and reduce the intensity to the vegetation, the less water that's going to sluice out the canyons during the monsoon seasons. So we would ask you for Nicole in the forest and for the local community to be patient with the smoke. It'll go away, and if we do it right, we'll diminish the stream flows come monsoon season. Okay, we have 240 homes that were threatened in there. The APS shut off 240 meters. Jason Coyle has mapped all the canyons for the last 5 or 10 years. Wonderful job, Jason. When we showed up, he handed us the structure protection plan. We knew where everything was. We knew what the profiles were. And I can tell you when we go around America, that doesn't happen a lot. So Jason, nice job. So currently we're managing 1,000 people from all over the United States. Steve Berube, believe it or not, works for FDNY. He's on our team. Our team is primarily from people around the Southwest, Arizona and New Mexico, but folks like Steve that we met at 9/11 have become part of our team. So they're from all over the United States. We have 35 hand crews out there. We have 45 engines. 50-plus police officers. Here's the other real success story is I can't tell you how closely the fire resources, public works, county emergency management, and law enforcement came together on this instance greater than any place I've ever seen, and I grew up in Southern California. So the law enforcement folks, nice job. Okay, we have 5 dozers out there. We have 8 helicopters. You guys have seen them flying over there, working both out of Pittman Valley up over by Williams and also at the airport here. We have 150 people on our night shift, and we're sending out about 600 firefighters, men and women, every day on day shift. Let me talk about, this is where you guys might want to cover your eyes. Let me talk about the fire and when we got here. Our primary goal that the forest gave us and the state forestry was to keep the fire out of Pump House Wash and keep it from going this way, and to protect all the structures in Oak Creek Canyon. Pretty good objectives? Good objectives. So we got good direction on the very first time rather than trying to wait and find out what it is they wanted. It was pretty clear. Keep it away from Kahina Village and minimize the loss to the structures in Oak Creek Canyon. So it was very clear to us the leader's intent. The next thing they said is try to minimize the fire intensity to reduce the floods later on. Okay, we can do that. One of the questions we have to ask is okay, well, how big do you want this fire to be? And they'd say, well, we'd like to keep it small, but our operations folks, Rick Miller here in the back and Tony Shaka and all us said, this is the roughest country you'll find in America. We can't send firefighters right next to the black and march them up the hill. And then somebody asked, so what's that mean? So it means we got to go around the top and make a big box. Does that work for the state forestry, and does that work for the Coconino National Forest? And they said, this is the box that if you're going to do that, we want you to do. So ultimately the fire is going to be this big as long as it doesn't rain on it. It's going to be, by the time we're done burning out these roads, trails, and hand lines, the fire is going to be about 23,000 acres. Now the reason, again, we can't get it any smaller is we can't send firefighters up in those drainage and expect them to come out without being injured, and we can't get them to a hospital in time, so we just can't put them in that country. So what we all have to understand is we have to have some give and take on this. We look at these firefighters and recognize their husbands and wives back home and their families and their mothers, and we have an obligation to send them back home at the end of the fire. And we worry about if we get them up in those tight canyons, can we get them out in time if they get injured? And the answer is generally no. So with that said, then we have to get into the country that's favorable for us. And that favorable country is flat land. So what Rick Miller and the forest have done is they picked the road system up on top of the canyons, and that will, again, use the 535 road and the 231, and ultimately we will drag fire under our control and we'll black out these roads all the way around. And then the goal, what happens is if the canyons get a big run like you saw coming in today, those embers will land inside the black and not start a new fire. So that's our ultimate goal, is to box it in and make sure that when we're done in 9 or 10 days that we don't have to worry about embers flying over and starting a new fire. So that's our general tactic. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Let me make sure I got all my notes here. So the other thing we talked about early on, I'm going to turn this off so you guys will be okay, is in our industry, quite often we're right out on the edge of the monsoons. You got lightning starts a fire, and then about a week and a half later, as John Russell will tell you from Yavapai County and Denny Folk, we're chasing floods about day 10. And we want to get ahead of that for you guys, and I think, again, your community has been really good about getting out ahead of the flood effects that are coming. They're going to map out and model out what kind of flows they'll see. They're going to base it on what they saw on the Brins, so you'll have predicted, and then you'll have actual from a pretty recent 10-year history of the Brins fire. So I think they're going to give you a lot of good information of what the flood piece is going to look like, and then of course the restoration to the forest and the campgrounds and all that stuff. So there's some work to be done, but I think you guys are in good hands. These folks are well ahead of that stuff, and so just from my perspective as an incident commander going around the nation, I think we're well ahead of not only the fire but the other effects of it. The next thing I'd like to do is bring Rick Miller up, who is our operations section chief on our team. He was also the initial attack incident commander, and he's going to go over bit by bit of what we're doing today, piece by piece, this part of the canyon, upper part of the canyon, coming around to the top of the road. He's going to explain all that to you, but you guys have a real gem in having Rick Miller in the area, so thank you guys. Rick?